Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk to you about something really important. It's about not comparing yourself to others, especially in your Christian walk, in your Christian spiritual walk. I think of social media. It's so easy for people to put together this highlight reel of their lives, and it makes their life look like they're having such a good time, like they have such a great life. And you really can't really see what's really going on. You can't see their worst moments or their challenging moments. You only see the good parts that they expose to you. So it doesn't really give you a clear picture of what's going on in their lives. And the same can go for spirituality on people that go to church on Sundays. I mean, other days too, but on Sundays, most people go to church. So on Sundays, people can put on an in-person reel of themselves, but we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. They could really be struggling. It's really important not to get too worked up on what you see on the surface. It's easy to feel discouraged when you see someone who seems further along in their journey than you are. Remember, everyone's walk is different. Instead of getting down on yourself, don't be afraid to ask them, what do you do on a daily basis to help you in your spiritual walk? Ask them, how do you stay close to God? What are your daily habits? How do you treat others? And if their response is rude or unkind, that might be a clue that they're not quite as far as you think they are in their spiritual walk. Watch how they live. Are they kind, patient? Do they show love and gentleness? If not, they might just be wearing Christianity like an outfit. They might not be living it out in their heart. The Bible talks about this in the parable of the wheat and the tares. On the outside, wheat and tares can look very similar, but God knows which is which. The same goes for people. We can't always tell by appearances. In my backyard, I have a lot of flowers that I have planted, but I also have a lot of weeds. And, I tried to plant around Mother's Day because that's like the best time to plant, but I almost feel like I should plant earlier because they take so long to grow. That it's probably going to be by the end. It's probably going to be the end of the summer by the time they're really growing. But let's say they were growing. I mean, I have to go out there. It's like way hot right now. We have a 90 degrees all of this week, and like it feels like 105 because of the heat index. And so I won't be able to do it this week. But I really need to get out there and see if they've grown at all. But a lot of times when the weeds and the flowers grow alongside each other, sometimes it is hard to tell what is a weed and what is the flower that I planted, especially since some of the weeds have really pretty flowers on them. So I mean, sometimes I don't mind the weeds because they're pretty. But I do know that weeds are kind of destructive and they take nutrients and stuff like that away from the flowers, but I still like them. So I don't really aggressively remove the weeds. But it's really hard to tell the difference sometimes between a flower and a weed. Now there are people who are very knowledgeable and gifted when it comes to gardening, and so they can tell the difference right away. So you think about it. People who are knowledgeable when it comes to plants and gardening can tell the difference right away what is a weed and what is not. So if you think about it, God is like the master gardener. He knows which one is a weed and which one is not. He knows who is a super Christian and who is just putting on airs. He's the master gardener. So we really need to watch how people live. Are they kind? Are they patient? Do they show love and gentleness? If not, they might just be wearing Christianity like an outfit, not living it in their hearts. Sometimes people think others are not bearing fruit. But I ask, who decides what is considered fruit? The Bible is our authority. And in Galatians 5:22-23, it says, but the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. Notice it's the Holy Spirit that produces this fruit, not us. That means we are free to enjoy these fruits no matter what the circumstances are that we are in. No one can take away your joy unless you let them. Joylessness comes from the enemy. God brings peace, but Satan brings chaos. So, we must hold on to kindness, patience, goodness, and faithfulness. A real Christian won't lose their patience with someone who is honestly trying to grow closer to God. And on the flip side, don't go around judging who's saved and who isn't. That's not our job. You might notice a lack of fruit in someone that you see regularly, but still don't go around announcing, they're not a real Christian. We don't know people's hearts, especially those that we only see online or TV. We can't see the whole picture. And please, don't act like you're better than others. I try to live by this saying. I try really hard not to complain about what someone else is doing, because when I do that, then I end up doing the same thing that I just complained about. That makes me a hypocrite. Let's talk about Matthew 7:15-16. Because here's a warning. Some people may look spiritual, but aren't. Matthew 7:15-16 NLT says, beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit. That is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? That's why it's so important to know the scriptures. We can be easily fooled by someone who is charismatic or eloquent, but it's the fruit of their life that really shows their heart. It's really important to study the Bible on your own, because that way if somebody tells you something, you will know if they are telling the truth or not, if it follows biblical principles or not. How are you going to know if you don't read the Bible? It's very important to stay aware, especially with AI becoming more and more popular. People can put together videos and they can say a certain thing, and it might not be the biblical perspective. They're doing that with Billy Graham. They're putting together AI deepfakes of Billy Graham, and people could develop a very bad perspective and opinion of Billy Graham based on these AI videos. And even your pastor could say something unbiblical, maybe not exactly on purpose, but you go be aware of the scriptures and you can tell yourself whether or not that pastor is speaking the truth. You'll know if you study the scriptures. So don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Someone may have been a Christian longer than you, but that doesn't make them better. It does not make them better. And somebody who has become a Christian at a very old age or a very young age, if somebody who has been a Christian for many, many, many years, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is your spiritual growth. There are some people who are, 50, 60, 70, who became a Christian, 10 or 15 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, and they're still babies. Like, it's all about your spiritual walk. There can be people who are, 5, 6 years old, and probably they could be more mature than somebody who's older than them. It's all about your spiritual walk, not your earthly age. It's about your spiritual age, your spiritual walk. So don't get discouraged. It may give you something to strive for if you see somebody who's further along than you. Make God the Lord of your life. Whether you're cleaning toilets, picking up trash, or working in a hedge fund office, you can glorify God in all you do. It's all about attitude. Attitude. It doesn't matter what job you're doing. If you have a Christian, godly, Jesus-forward attitude, you can make a big difference in somebody's life. In Colossians 3:23, it says, work willingly at whatever you do as though you are working for the Lord rather than for people. I'll include the full context of these verses in the description below. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in my next podcast. Bye-bye.